the House of Disappearances. The night air was chill, and the mist crept low on the ground as Harper gathered her friends outside the infamous Abaddon residence. This decrepit mansion in Escher's Hollow held a gruesome legend. It was here that Harper's husband, Caleb, and his comrades met their mysterious fates. Despite warnings, the impulsive and curious band, driven by the thrill of myth and the spirit of adventure, dared to penetrate the house's somber silence. With each step toward the twisted iron gates, the group felt the stirrings of an ancient unease, as if the very air around the darkened windows held its breath in anticipation. Harper felt a twinge of dread as the group entered the Abaddon residence, a once grand but now forsaken testament to decay. They assembled in the main hall, sharing nervous laughter that failed to mask the fear in their eyes. As Caleb's tale unfolded in quivering voice, the friends imagined the sound of ghostly footfalls prowling above them. With each detail of the story, how Jimmy, then Matt and Jason vanished, the room seemed to grow colder, the shadows deeper. They half expected the air to shiver with the voices of the lost, but nothing prepared them for the sudden, unmistakable scrape of something inhuman moving just above. It started as a whisper of unease, twisting into a knot of terror. Elliot volunteered, hoping bravado would mask his creeping dread, to inspect the source of the noises. As he climbed the creaking staircase, each step a prayer for safety, his stout heart faltered. The upper hall was smothered in darkness, his flashlight beam a feeble sword fending off unseen foes. The group watched from below as Elliot's light dimmed and then was snuffed out abruptly, leaving an oppressive darkness. A silent scream seemed to fill the void left by Elliot's sudden absence. The pact of friendship, sealed in playful defiance, was breaking. Disbelief chained the friends to the spot until Marlon's resolve shattered the paralysis. He trudged upward, defiantly calling Elliot's name, his own fear a secondary concern. Lucas followed, unwilling to abandon his brethren to the house's inscrutable whims. But the Abaddon residents, hungry for souls, claimed them too, each man swallowed by an unquenchable darkness that left no trace. The rest of the group, seized by a primal survival instinct, stumbled into the protective arms of the night, their cries of terror swallowed by the whispering trees as if the house itself hungered for their fright. The morning's light brought no salvation, only the ghastly view of blood smeared across the stairwell where Elliot, Marlon, and Lucas had disappeared. The police combed every crevice, but the Abaddon residence, like a stoic keeper of secrets, revealed nothing. The men were simply gone, vanished into the ether as surely as if they had never been. Leaden with grief, the town could only watch as the grim edifice was razed, as if toppling those decrepit walls could bury the peering eyes of dread forever. But the house was not just a structure of wood and nail. It was an echo of fear that would not be silenced. The townfolk whispered, and so the curse became legend. Friends of Caleb, linked by that fateful night, vanished year after year, each disappearance a stark reminder that the shadows of Abaddon still stretched long and covetous. The pattern became clear, relentless, and discriminating. Each victim was the oldest of the remaining survivors, chosen by an unfathomable criterion that left behind nothing but an aching void. Caleb was haggard with the weight of knowing. His place in the queue drew nearer with each setting sun, and no amount of light could stave off the darkness that crept around the edges of his life. Perhaps it was the need to confess, to breathe life into the shadows that gripped his heart, but Caleb's recounting of the events was edged with a frightening urgency. As he poured out his soul, laying bare the terror and the memories that stalked him, the threads of the past twined inexorably around the present. With each retelling, the specter of his own fate grew more substantial, more certain. Yet, telling the story did not lighten the load. If anything, it seemed to hasten the approach of his own unseen specter. The absence of Caleb the next morning was a silent knell that tolled across Esher's Hollow. He had vanished as surely as his predecessors, leaving behind a wife to grapple with the sorrow of the inexplicable. Harper searched the corners of their life together for answers, but Caleb had slipped away as if drawn by an indisputable call. The police, now well versed in the futility of the search, found themselves enacting the same fruitless rituals. Notes were taken, questions asked, but the truth was as elusive as the mist that shrouded the grounds where the Abaddon once stood, a vacuum where life once was. Determined to face the churning abyss that had claimed her loved ones, Harper sifted through the wreckage of bygone years. Shadows lengthened as the day approached, the day that marked another cycle of the curse. With each tick of the clock, Harper felt the pull of an unseen tide, a current that had swept away those she loved. Would her quest unearth the seeds of this enduring enigma, or would she, too, fall victim to the legacy of the Abaddon residents? Harper stood at the edge of a precipice, a solitary figure against the coming night, her resolve a flickering flame in the gathering darkness.